Welcome back to AM Northwest. You know, gardening doesn't stop in the winter. Here to share what you can be doing right now, we welcome back Executive Director of Growing Gardens, Jason Skipton. Great to see you again.
Great to see you too. Happy New Year.
So there are some things that we can be doing right now?
Please, yeah.
Okay.
Like organization, but also let's talk about garden resolutions, right? We don't talk about New Year's resolutions.
Yeah.
Let's talk about garden resolutions.
Okay.
Like, what do you want to do? How do you want to engage with your plants? How do you want to actually grow something maybe different or new this year? Now is the time to set those intentions.
Okay.
Right? Just like we would, hey, I want to maybe drink less alcohol, or I want to walk more, I want to run to a bakery.
I want to run to a bakery.
Or I want to reuse some materials.
Yeah.
Great. We can do all of those in our garden.
Okay.
Let's
All right,
start with
let's
our
do an update on our.
Let's update our cover crops, right?
Right.
Flashing news. Look at this beautiful amount
it's
of growth,
amazing.
right? So
Yeah.
again, this is the concept of growing your nitrogen, growing your fertilizer inside your garden that you're going to then use. But also, this is a really beautiful thing right now. We've gotten a lot of rain.
Yeah.
This covers your beautiful soil that you've been creating over this last year. Also, it's edible.
I was going
right?
to say, you pulled, where did you?
These fava beans, these are fava beans, and these are fava leaves.
Fava leaf right
Fava
now.
leaf, right? So they're kind of light.
That was good.
Right, kind of sweet. I really like to harvest these and then add these
they're
to
really
a salad,
good.
right? You could also saute them with a little bit of eggs, totally fine. So this is another part that cover crops actually give us something else as well, and not just helping our soil.
Oh, good point.
So you can still plant cover crops. You
Yeah.
got to plant the right ones, right? You got to really look into this. So crimson clover, but this has given us the coverage that we needed. So it's okay if you haven't made them. You know, garden resolution. Did you plant cover crops? Did you plant garlic? Those are the things that happened last year.
Okay.
But it's okay. Like, you'll have some time to do some more in the spring. So
Okay, now you want to talk
now
about
let's move in.
seeds.
So it's January.
Okay.
It's February. You're like, oh, it's cold out. What am I going to do inside right now? I'm going to wait. Organization. You got to get organized, right? So what are you going to grow? Look at your seed catalogs and then figure out, what do I need to plant indoors to have those plants ready for the warm months, right?
Okay.
So right now, alliums. So that would be any kind of your onions.
Oh, right.
Are time to then start seeding these. So we're going to talk a little bit about the do's and don'ts of seeding indoors, right? Because everyone's getting fired up. Let's get some seeds in the ground right now. Let's get the plants growing. You got to pick the right plants.
Okay.
Right? So what might happen right now is, like, you go to a garden store and you have to buy the right soil. You can't just take soil out of the ground. That's not going to work. It's too heavy. It's too dense. So these little tiny seeds won't be able to poke through really hard soil.
Okay.
So this is a specific potting soil or starter mix, right?
Yeah.
It has these really cool
It does look light.
rocks in here. So this is pumice. This is a pumice rock that's really light and creates a lot of air pockets. So then the seed can then break through, and then the
That's what
roots
it's
can then set.
That,
right?
okay, yeah.
So here's some trays. Here's some tray setups. They can be all different kinds of things. You don't need this many. You could do one. Totally fine if you're like, hey, I really want to grow this specific thing, and I can't find a plant start for it.
Okay.
Awesome. So what happens too is a lot of times people will then just fill trays. Dry soil, fill trays. This is not going to be a great medium for plants to grow and germinate quickly, right? So what you do is you have this whole cylinder that's dry soil, and then you just water the top.
Right. So that does.
It then creates an inch or less of wet soil.
Oh, I see.
So what you want to do is pre-wet your soil. This
Okay.
is really, really, really important.
All right.
So pre-wet it. And there's someone that's going to ask, well, how do you know if it's wet enough?
Yeah.
Right? What you want to do, the test is to grab a handful
And
of
feel it.
soil and squeeze it.
Oh,
If it starts to drip a little bit of water, that's perfect.
Okay.
That's just the amount. If it's soupy, not going to work.
Okay.
Right? So then you take these, you can then add this to your pot, and then press it down a little bit, right? And then you're going to plant your seeds right in here.
Okay.
Right? So wet your soil. Super important. Also, maybe you want to do some reusing of things. You're like, hey, I did some takeout over the holidays.
Yeah.
I want to reuse this container. Really great way to do this. Check this out. This has a built-in greenhouse.
Look at that.
Right here for it. So so you put your wet soil in here,
Yeah.
you seed, and then you put on the top.
Okay.
And then it's going to
that'll
start
keep the
to
heat
germinate.
kind
Yeah,
of
that's
in,
going to
too.
keep the heat and the moisture in. That's the
Right.
really important part about this.
So
is the moisture.
What should we not plant? So you mentioned.
Well, everyone's like excited. We're going to do tomatoes.
Well, that's what I was.
Right,
about
so
to
this
ask
is
you
what's
about
going to happen
tomatoes.
if you do tomatoes now.
What's going to
They're
happen?
going to be ready end of February to go outside.
Oh, and it's too cold.
Too cold.
Yeah.
Too cold. So
Okay.
again, pick those right plants that you
Yeah,
want.
yeah.
Because what happens is you stress plants out. You put tomatoes in here now, and they start to get really leggy, or something that looks like just really kind of top heavy, or really a lot of growth because it's not the right time for them, and you can't put them outside. I've even seen people plant them indoors, and then all of a sudden they're creating fruit because they planted too early.
Right, and tomatoes, it's warm indoors.
Yep, tomatoes, think later down the road, March,
See,
even
we're
April,
just
right?
excited, though.
We're excited, which is great. I love that. But think of the right plants. Chili peppers.
Oh.
If you like chili peppers, February is the great time to plant them indoors, especially if you like specialty, maybe chili peppers that you can't find plants of, that you have the seeds. Because you can't take a chili pepper seed here, put it in the ground, and then have it actually give fruit. There's not enough daylight and heat. So do that here. Chili peppers are great in February. February right now is onions. Other thing that's really important, right? Yeah, so check this out. This is growth just from this winter and last fall of a pear tree. So these are called suckers. Right now is the perfect time to then go outside and look at all of your trees. In particular, fruit-bearing trees. And then cut away all of these suckers. Because these are going to take up all of the energy and growth for this next growing season. So these aren't needed. And you need a lot of airflow between the tree limbs. This will then eat up all of that airflow and then create disease. But then also, you'll have a lower production year because your tree's trying to focus on all of this growth.
Wow. All good information. Oh my gosh, Jason, thank you so much. And no tomatoes. Hold on. Hold back, even though you're excited. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, if you'd like to find out more, we're going to put information on our website at katu.com. All right, we'll be right back with more AM Northwest. Don't go away.